Hi, Anna. How are you today?
Hello. Good. How are you?
I'm awesome. I'm so glad you agreed to join us today. I've been really looking forward to this conversation. And I was curious. I was thinking about this as I was getting ready for this interview. And one of the questions that I've been thinking about a lot of concepts I've been thinking a lot about is absorption, or like flow, and being in flow or being absorbed. And I was just curious, like in the story of Anna, your background. Can you remember anything like early on in your story that really gripped you and really you felt absorbed in? And would you be willing to like talk about that a little bit, or share it with us with
Sure. No, I would say I wasn't absorbed. At the age of 7, though, I disappeared. Identity disappeared. And that's what you're calling absorption or flow. Now, when someone feels separate, they look for the flow or being with the flow, which is I'm a separate entity going to connect with the flow. This message here is saying you are the flow. There is nothing but the flow. And at the age of 7 or 8, there was a dropping of personal identity here. And it was seeing that there was only the flow or totality or heaven or God or whatever you want to call it, appearing as everything, a very impersonal seer. And so that's something I can share with you. It's not special or important, but when most people speak about the flow, they're trying to connect to something they feel disconnected from. All I can share is you are the flow.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Okay, good one. So that kind of that flow, what I was calling the flow, yeah, that's really interesting. So what I was hearing just reflect on is first that there was early in the story of Anna, an identity dropped, the identity of Anna dropped, and there's kind of this realization that everything is flow. And kind of my experience now is that like some aspects of life seem like they're in flow, and others kind of seem out of flow. But for you early on, you had this experience, and maybe we could, for the benefit of folks listening, I've been checking out your channel a lot and listening to your talking, so I have a sense of where this might go. But you're kind of mentioning this here, what you're sharing, that kind of thing, and just it's typically
say non-duality. So I'm a non-dual speaker.
Yeah. Can
So
you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, non-duality means not two. So everything is oneness. But there may be a dream experience that you're a person with free will and choice, and that what you're doing is very important and special and it's meaningful. But everything is an empty, full appearance, meaning this isn't real. Nothing is real. It appears to be real, like a dream experience at night. So this here that's arising, this manifestation, is what humans like to call God or divinity. This is a boundless energy appearing. So non-duality is a word trying to describe something that can't be described because we're speaking of a mystery.
Yeah. So, and this is kind of this non-teaching, or this perspective is something you've really dedicated a lot of your time and energy to, and it's just really gripping me and fascinating me. Maybe we could talk about this, Anna, because I was sharing a little bit before we started recording about the genesis of this show coming out of an interest a group of us have in meditation and addiction recovery. And as we've been exploring that topic, a few of us have discovered non-duality, and some of your teachings and other teachings, and then and this, I don't want to say it's a conflict, but a little bit of a tension has emerged in the group between like practice and like non-practice. So what's your perspective on like formal meditation practice, and does that relate to non-duality, or what's your perspective on that one?
Well, most of the time, so first off, I'm not a teacher. I just like to say I'm a celebrator. I'm just reflecting what our intuitive hearts know, that this is home. So meditation won't bring you closer to anything called liberation or enlightenment or freedom. There's only freedom appearing as everything. And that includes the worst thing you can think of and the best thing you can think of. So oneness encapsulates everything. And that includes addiction and the apparent dropping of addiction. No one's choosing to have an addiction, and no one's choosing to meditate. So what we're speaking about here is something that is a mystery appearing as something, emptiness appearing as fullness. You see, that's why I say it's like an appearance, like a dream at night. But the fallacy is I'm outside of wholeness. I'm outside of healing. I'm outside of freedom and liberation. And if I work really hard enough, I will heal. I will clear. And through that effort and hard work, I will get the reward called heaven. I will get the reward called totality or freedom or whatever it is that we think we're chasing. So that's the misconception. There's nothing wrong with therapies. There's nothing wrong with meditation because it makes your prison cell feel much more comfortable. You see, non-duality, or what we're calling awakening, it doesn't mean something's going to change. It's the recognition that no one's here. It's the recognition that this is an appearance that is going on by its own volition. It's just it's arising, it's happening, it's falling, kind of like your breath or weather. You see, it's spontaneous. Yeah,
I'm wondering what you think about that. Thank you for that, first of all. Definitely hear that. And I'm wondering if maybe that question, as I'm reflecting on your answer, is kind of coming out of like this dualistic sense I have as I'm exploring these teachings. There is a part of me that wants to kind of contrast dualism and non-dualism, and I'm realizing that's kind of a dualistic move. So
we can't help but do that, right? I mean, even speaking, we're going to start splicing things. But the beautiful thing about this is, Brian, is these words are coming out of wordlessness. It's emptiness. It's nothing appearing as something. So that's when I say intuition, it's not something you can sharpen through effort. Intuition is synonymous with beingness, or some call awareness or presence. There is only that. And so when I speak in this space together, maybe there can be a feeling of like, oh my God, I get what she's saying. I'm vibing, I resonate something here, even if there's beliefs and blocks going, but what about this? But what about that? So yeah, we're talking intuitively, which won't make any logical sense because we're speaking of timelessness appearing as time simultaneously. How does that make sense?
Yeah. That's a tricky one. I don't know.
It doesn't. It doesn't make sense here either. Yeah. Not logically.
Lovely. I'm really loving these words you're using. Like a vibe, or like a resonance, or like a like a harmony maybe, or
like a zing, like, oh yeah, I get that. Yeah, there's something like a knowing without knowing. Do you get what I'm saying by that?
I think so.
Yeah.
It makes sense. And going back to the question about like meditation and vibing, it's like, for whatever reason, I'm kind of like vibing right now with just sitting down quietly for X amount of time, and it just feels, I like this. This is a cool thing to do. But I think the problem, and I wonder if you think if this is like what you're teaching, or not teaching, but your perspective, or this perspective is helping with, is it's like, it has to be like this. Like, if it's not like this, if it's not this meditation, then it's like doom. You'll be in hell forever if you don't do this meditation. So there's there's like this, it seems subtle, but it does seem like liberatory is a good word. It makes sense to me. It's like, I'm doing this because I want to do it right now. Like, I want to sit, it feels nice, or it feels like there's a nice vibe here, a nice resonance. Do you think that's like the important shift to make when it comes
to no, because non-duality has nothing, or awakening has nothing to do with emotions. So most of the time we think, oh, if I'm enlightened, I won't be sad. If I'm enlightened, I won't be angry. That's not true. All natural emotions that arise there can arise here. There's just no owner anymore. And when there's no owner of addiction. There's no owner of fear. There's no owner of frustration. There's no owner of gratitude. There's no owner of bliss. There's just no owner. Just like the sky doesn't own weather patterns. It's just appearing and playing and happening, and it can be full on. So anger can arise here, and it can be full on, fully felt, but there's no longer a spiritual idea that anger shouldn't be there. And because there's not an idea that anger shouldn't be there, it can play out, it can dance. And there's no guilt or shame with that. Like when we're in a path of teaching of spirituality or religion or self-help, there's usually you should not feel this way. This way's better. And then we have a tug of war with our emotions and thought forms. But all this can confirm is that every thought form and emotion is what we call the absolute appearing as that. It is wholeness and oneness already. Yeah.
That's good stuff. And I I like the term absolute you're using. And I'm also like translating like heaven and liberation.
Yeah, so they go to, you can interchange them. Heaven, paradise, the absolute, they're just words, trying to paint that which can't be painted, but it's appearing as you and me having a conversation about it.
Yeah, which is cool.
Quite interesting.
Yeah.
Quite interesting.
I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think this is one thing I've heard talk a little bit about, like guilt and shame.
Yeah.
And how, yeah, like, and this is where this conversation about like fully feeling our anger, or like in the addiction realm, like an intense craving to do something, like, or not even an intense craving, but like this thing that really frustrates me sometimes in my experience, which is a contradiction. It's like part of me really does not want to have this really strong craving, and part of me like obviously really wants to go towards something, and that I feel that as suffering. And I kind of worry that without guilt, I'm just going to hurt people, or I'm going to do, I have these things that I call values, and I don't know. So I do, when you're talking about like fully feeling your anger, like a part of me is like, yes, like I want that authenticity, but the other parts of me is like, I really like my glasses and my wall. I don't want to punch them. So you know what I mean?
Yeah, I get you, Brian. Yeah. But that question stems from the idea that you're already choosing and controlling, and you're not. There is no free will or choice. There's only the belief in free will and choice when there's one believing they're on a path to liberation. What we're speaking about is a paradox. Liberation is appearing as Brian on a path, or not. You see what I'm saying? So there's nothing wrong with that. But the byproduct of feeling like you are in control is guilt, is shame, and is insecurity. But if there is only oneness, who is the one that's doing all of these things?
I don't know.
And if nothing is real, only seems to be, where is the cause and effect if time isn't actually real? You see? So that's why this message doesn't make sense, and it can't be applied to your life. You know what I'm saying? Because we're speaking about something that's beyond the world, beyond these ideas of cause and effect in time, but is simultaneously appearing as it. You see? So it can be kind of mind-boggling what we're speaking about here, because it goes against the grain of everything we think we know.
Yeah, one thing that's going against the grain for me, that I just want to point out, is that word you use, application. I do have a sense of like when I like when you're talking, it's like really resonating. I like it. Yeah. And then there's a very fast movement towards, what can I do with this?
Right.
I really do that. I want to do that.
That's normal. That's normal. It's like, what can I do with this? And nothing. But what is it that's saying that? It's a thought form. Yeah. And thought has no power, but in the dream, it seems like thought has power. That narrative in the head, the life coach going, oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. We're going to do this now. Yeah. It's never really done anything.
Yeah.
It's smoke and mirrors.
It does. I do feel, I am trying to let go of that a little bit. It's difficult though. Yeah.
It can't be let go of, because I mean, truly what we're looking for is what's looking through the eyes. It's appearing as the body, it's appearing as the breath, and including what you don't like about the personality. You see what I'm saying? When we feel like we're on a healing path, we're always going to have something we're trying to get rid of, we're trying to manipulate. Like we're always tinkering with ourselves because we're not perfect yet. And I'm only sharing you are perfection pretending. And that's okay. This doesn't want to change anyone's experience, because from here it's seen that you are the absolute on a healing path, the absolute in addiction recovery, the absolute drinking beer, the absolute eating pizza. And
I really appreciate that, because there's just so much like expectation and I think it really gets in the way, speaking specifically about addiction, but just in general, like where did this idea come from that things have to be a certain way? If they're not, who is it serving? Like, it's just so implicit to me. I'm glad we're having this conversation, because it's just like there's just these beliefs that I have that, obviously you want to be in addiction recovery. I'm not saying you should or shouldn't be in addiction recovery, but who said, like, where is this coming from? What is being recovered? All these questions are just typically so implicit. And it's cool to just say, I never really thought about it. I guess it just seemed self-evident to me.
Right. And the addiction recovery could occur, or going to whatever it is. It's just what goes away from that is the guilt of it, that this is going to lead me to somewhere better, that type of thing. Because within the realm of form, of course, there's going to seem like there's change and evolution and progression or not progression, right? All of that will seem to arise. But what we're speaking about is the eye of the hurricane, so to speak. That still point, something that's unchanging, unmoving, beyond, but is also simultaneously appearing as going to the counseling or whatever it is. There's nothing wrong with any of those things, because we're saying that's the absolute appearing as that. But what we have as an idea on a spiritual path is, you know what, if I was enlightened, if I was truly awake, I wouldn't be going to these counseling sessions. I wouldn't be going to addiction recovery. And that's just belief systems. That's just, because what we're really saying is everything is harmony. And all of that is. It doesn't make sense to this, right? But
okay, that seems interesting. I'm seeing it like this now. There's almost like, so it is true. Like we see, like there seems to be an addiction or a lot of chaos and destruction, and then XYZ happens, and then we come out the other side looking different. What we're talking about here is obviously that's happening, but no one did it. It just
exactly. And just because, let's say you go from being an addict to not an addict, there could still be a sense of self and separation in seeking, which is uncomfortable. So now I'm not seeking through drugs, but now I'm seeking through my counseling, or now I'm seeking through clothes, or now I'm seeking through exercise. You get what I'm saying? It switches into a new seeking field, which again, like you're saying, no one is doing it. And when it's seen that time actually isn't real, it's only seen by no one. It's only seen by isness, if you will. Then it's just kind of like you're saying, those beliefs can start to be seen and shatter. Like, oh my God, holy crap. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's almost to me like I'm kind of complaining at this point. I don't know, through
go for it. I don't care.
Yeah, through what you're sharing, I'm realizing that maybe like sometimes the thing, like structurally, it seems that seeking is very similar. Like you'd hit the nail right on the head.
Oh yes.
Yeah, you hit the nail right on the head, where like heroin addiction becomes, I don't know, like shopping addiction, but no one's really saying to me like, don't shop. It's like more like quote unquote acceptable. There's not as much guilt there, or I don't feel
the same thing. But
there's structurally, I'm not trying to minimize people's experiences or anything, but structurally things are extremely similar. So it's almost kind of funny. And also I'm a little frustrated. I feel some frustration about what is labeled as problematic, where really this idea of the kind of removing the self, or removing the doer, and finding that eye of the hurricane. That seems like something that anybody could do. We don't need to confine it just to, certain socially problematic segments.
Oh, right. But the paradox is there isn't a self to get rid of. That's why you can't find it.
Right.
So that's what I'm saying is the absolute appears as an addiction. When we've been on a spiritual or a healing path, we think, oh God would never appear as an addict.
Yeah.
The absolute would never appear as an addict. What I'm saying is the alpha is the omega, which translates to the sinner is the saint. It is all and everything and nothing. But if you hear it, so that's why guilt seems to go away, and there's no longer the hierarchy of, oh well, a heroin addiction is worse than a shopping addiction. It's all coming from the idea of I am separate and this will heal me. Okay. And I'm not saying that habits don't still appear. Habits can still appear, drinking a beer, smoking a doobie, eating pizza, watching movies, whatever the habit is. There can still be habits that arise for the character. But what drops is that contraction of separation, which most seem to go into the drugs or the shopping or the sex or the meditation or the gurus.
Yeah.
Right. And now it's more just for fun. I'm eating pizza for fun. I'm not going to find myself in it. I'm drinking beer because it tastes good. I'm not going to find myself in it. You get what I'm saying by that? It's a celebration.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just to comfort to comfort myself, like it feels like I just imagine, or I looking back into the history of Brian and the history of some of the characters that I know, dropping is stepping into the celebration. Like I feel like I can trust that. I don't tend to celebrate in ways that are self-harming, because I do worry about like hurting others and hurting myself. But if I look back into my history, those expressions seem to be coming less from a place of celebration and more from a place of pain or seeking or selfhood, apparent selfhood. And so I'm just kind of comforting myself, because yeah, I guess it's coming out of a sense of fear that I don't know, I have a moral sense or whatever.
Well, this is not a good message for morality, because there isn't any. I mean, what we're literally saying is there's no inherent meaning, Brian. So this will be very frightening to the constructs of beliefs in mind. What we're saying is there's no inherent meaning, because let's think about it, Brian. Everything we think we know was handed down to us from someone else who thought they knew. So what is original?
Well, I absolutely agree. I absolutely agree that morality is not like universal, that God didn't let's say a storm god didn't come down to the mountaintop and share like this is the way to live. I do find, I just don't want, like, I want people to stop at red lights. I guess that's selfish. Like,
within form, there's going to be polarity. So just because it's seen there's no one doesn't mean assholes won't appear, Brian. Nothing will change. Everything will remain the same, except for the idea that you're owning this and that you know what this is. Because the dream is, I know what this is. The dream is there's me and there's others. That's the dream of duality. The dream is also, I don't want anyone to run red lights because I want to feel a certain way. You see the codependency? Yes. So that's why it's like this message is, it's not a teaching and it can't be applied to anyone's life. So that's you know what I mean? It's intuitive. We're speaking about something that's very unorthodox here, Brian.
Yeah, I'm wondering. That makes a ton of sense. And it is that kind of habit. I might be doing it throughout the chat. I'm sorry, but like I'm just bouncing from.
It's okay. No, it's fine. You're fine. All of this is just unfolding naturally, so you're good.
Yeah, this morality thing, I don't want to be hung up on it. But do you think, I heard you have a real gift in your talks with metaphor? I love listening to your metaphors, and I love this metaphor of someone was struggling with something similar to what I'm struggling with, and use this metaphor of the cupcakes, like making cupcakes. Like you need a recipe, and I'm wondering, like, if like maybe I could start framing like healing or morality. That's more in that realm. Like, there's a certain recipe to make this one moral, and maybe it'll taste better. Maybe
I get what you're saying. So what we're saying here, you're already not choosing anything, Brian. You've never chosen anything ever. So why would your morality go away?
Right. Yeah.
Or why would your character dissolve? So I get the fear. Most energies of beliefs go, Anna, if I see what you're seeing, which I don't see anything, no one sees this, no one hears this, then I'll just sit on the couch and become an asshole. And I don't know, just become evil. No, that would assume that you are doing it already. So why would anything change? So if you are a grateful character, if you like to dance and sing and eat dark chocolate, that will still appear. Okay. But what drops is this idea of my fulfillment's in the future. That completely drops because it's an illusion. Time isn't real. It only appears to be. And that can be very shocking. I understand to beliefs. I totally get that. This character had moments of despair and walking in a desert where old spiritual beliefs were haunting this and all of that. But something within, we could say, it's not really within, it's everything, everywhere, nodded to this. Even if there was some fear, even if there was some old beliefs coming in, there was something that was like, tell me more. Yeah,
cool, good stuff. That's very, very interesting. I think that is comforting. It's like I'm very well programmed, and these morals aren't going anywhere, and let's just rest in the truth and kind of dance with that and just kind of trust the process. And I like that a lot. That's an interesting perspective. I hadn't thought of it that much. And I guess it is. I guess there's a sense of me that still really thinks I'm the one doing the moral actions.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, does a tree choose when it's going to drop its leaves? No. And does a flower choose when it's going to open?
Yeah.
No. Why would we be any different?
Yeah, that's cool. I like that. I like that idea. There is something about the story of me that seems separate from nature. But that doesn't make any sense. I mean,
Right. But it
yeah.
will only seem that way, though. You're right, though. That what if we just take out the word like awakening or enlightenment? We're just speaking about what is natural. And go to the forest. There's going to be things you like and you don't like. So
Yeah.
this message isn't about like you liking everybody, you getting along with everybody, no. But what can seem to drop is the heaviness of seeking, which feels very painful because it's the idea of I'm not whole, I'm not it, but it will be over there. It will be over there. And then when you get over there, it will be over there and it will be over there. And now we're just chasing our tail.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I definitely, I experienced that with goal setting even. It's like, I think, and it's a weird thing, Anna. It's like almost like a love of pain almost. It's like,
what is up with us? Yeah. What's with the characters? I get you though. No, we're taught that no pain, no gain, right? No pain, no gain.
Yeah.
I mean, now that is true, Brian. If you're like trying to run faster and you're trying to bench press harder, yeah, there's going to be some pain there. Working out, there's pain. That's not going to go away. Yeah. The ownership of the pain goes. The pain can be beautiful. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. So we don't need to scapegoat pain either. I just think that, I think I want to be more conscious of when I'm going for pain, and because the story is like, I even found this recently with a job, because I was going after this job. It was quite challenging to get, and I put a lot of energy into it, and I got it, and that was really exciting. And I started looking again. I was like, like what are the other jobs? And I realized that what I really wanted wasn't the job. It was like to be going for the job, because there's just something in me that wanted to do that. And I was thinking
seeking. You're describing the dream of seeking. You're describing the dream of duality and seeking. Yeah. That's it perfectly. You described it well.
Yeah.
The grass is always greener. That idea falls away, and jobs can come and go, but they don't matter so much anymore because you've seen through the illusion of time. You've seen through the illusion of objects. You see, because we think that all these things will bring fulfillment. They may bring more money, which can bring cool experiences and things, but those are fleeting. What you are is timeless. It's not fleeting. It is already here as breath. It's what's looking through your eyes.
Yeah, and it's this seeking, I think that's a good word for me to hone in on. Because it's as we've talked already, it's very easy to receive your teaching, or I'm sorry.
It's okay. You're cool, man. I won't chop your head off. No.
Okay.
You're fine.
Maybe like a buzzer would be helpful. Have you ever thought of like a remote control buzzer to get people? But
that would be funny.
Yeah. Like what's here right now, what we're discussing.
Yeah.
It's very easy for me to co-opt it into a kind of seeking.
That's the problem with talking about it, because think about it. Think about a cat or a dog. Okay. They are naturally themselves. They don't have the appearance of self-consciousness like humans do. Humans have the illusion of self-consciousness, which is the illusion of free will, time, I'm in control, and the fractalization of what we call mind and ego. Okay. Cats and dogs don't have that. They are primordial. They are seamless with what is. And what can happen to a cat? They can break their legs. They eat mice. They can get sick. That was what you would call an apparent suffering, right?
Yeah.
But there's no one home. There's no one in there. You see?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a naturalness like that is what we're speaking about with this word liberation, or non-duality, so to speak. So self-consciousness is the idea that I'm in control and I'm choosing, and what I choose is very important.
Okay, so I'm sorry, I apologize. This is going to be
no, you're good.
I also apologize to the listeners about the cat thing. I think one of the most important moments of my life that I never was able to contextualize until you were talking is I was once walking, and I'm sorry again, but this cat was puking.
Yeah.
And the way it was puking was I think it was like an awakening experience, because it was completely, it felt to me, I was projecting onto it that it was completely okay. It was no resistance to this experience. And like me, I have like a fear of puking. I really hold back and don't do it. Instead of, it's actually kind of beautiful. It's like a purging of probably something that needs to come out.
Right.
We wouldn't I wouldn't associate that with something spiritual, but I mean, in this, what we're sharing now, it just is. And to me, that was very self-evident in that experience. It's like, this cat is fully immersed in this purging, and it just really struck me. And yeah.
And there's no, but that you would call that like being uncomfortable and in pain.
Right.
I mean, obviously, but there's no one home. So there's not the narrative of like, why is this happening to me? You know, none of that stuff's going on. It's just the in the maybe laying down or whatever. And that's liberation appearing as the cat vomiting, or liberation appearing as the human vomiting. And then we go, well, why does liberation or oneness want to appear as pain? Because what's it like to be nothing? To be void, to be null, to be absolutely, so it appears as shape, sound, light, form, pain, pleasure, sensations, because that's what's interesting. Otherwise, it's just, there's nothing, absolutely nothing, no senses, no sound. So
and who wants that?
So but simultaneously it is the silence and the sound. So
nice one.
I
wanted to ask you, okay, there's many fun things that are coming up for me right now, but
cool.
idea of the cat or the self-consciousness, like, and use the animals. I would also think maybe babies, maybe have less self-consciousness.
Totally.
Okay, so this is something that seems pretty radical to me and pretty cool. I hadn't thought of it in this way, but it's almost like typically how I was taught. Like, I have a psychology degree, so that gave me a lot of beliefs and stories. But we would talk in that discourse about like development, and like self-consciousness is seen, like, not even in the more religious discourse. I'm talking about like the secular discourse. That almost like a lack of self-consciousness would like almost be like de-evolved or something. It would be. I
know, right? Yeah.
Do you see it as kind of the opposite? Do you think self-conscious? Okay.
Yeah, I do, because within the dream, self-consciousness is important because it's your sense of self, and you need to decorate it very beautifully, like a Christmas tree, so you can win at the game of life. And what we're saying here is there's no one, that the suffering and the hardship, so to speak, is I have to micromanage myself every single day. I need to be a really, really good person. And it's so hard to micromanage yourself. That dream of tinkering and constant micromanagement and focus, that collapses into, what we're calling, I guess, not self-consciousness, a seamlessness. I like to say it's a primordial intelligence, like a baby, or a cat or a dog, where you don't have this, like, the extra stuff of dogma and beliefs and traditions and culture. There's just like an innate knowing of what to do and when to do it. Like when birds fly to higher ground, when there's going to be an earthquake or a big tsunami's coming, they know days before the humans do, because they're fucking in tune. Excuse my language. Sorry, guys. But it's they just know when to move and when to go. They don't need to read a book or watch a YouTube. Oh my God, guys, it's time to go. No, they just go because they are in tune. They just know what to do and when to do it. And maybe dispersing and leaving from the tsunami, there's death. Apparent death of the character. You get what I'm saying? But what we're speaking about is life and death simultaneously. But that's what I'm pointing to with intuition. It's just, it can't be taught. It's primordial, innate.
Nice one. Okay, so as you were talking, I was seeing this like circle, and then you use like breath too, which is kind of circular, or there's a rise and a fall. And maybe like that development thing, that's like very linear, right? Like maybe there's some
development appears, but the idea for the person development is what we think is going to give us the gold and the bells and the whistles.
That's
what I'm saying. Like, the message here is very unorthodox, because we're speaking of something that was never born and can't die, but appears as birth and death.
I was. Do you think it's like a circular thing, kind of like?
I'd rather see it like an Ouroboros. Like the snake that eats its own tail. Yes, absolutely. Or like what you're saying, the rising and falling of breath. This is all appearing and collapsing like breath. You and I, the body, even the body appears. It's not there stagnantly all the time. It arises and falls. But when I am there, me, the sense of me is there, my body's always here. The walls are always here because I know. The knowing collapses, and you're left with kind of an innocence. I mean, obviously there's walls appearing, but it's obvious that it's not stagnant, solid, and real. It's light appearing as a wall, light appearing as Brian, light appearing as Anna. Seamless though. It only appears as two, like an optical illusion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Okay.
But it's very natural and normal. So it's not like, I go to the coffee shop and I'm like, hey, you're just an appearance of light, right? So no, it's like, hey, can I have a bagel and some epic coffee, please? Or whatever. Yeah, it's very natural and normal. Yeah, very ordinary.
Yeah, it's almost for me sounding almost like it's helping me take the self-consciousness less seriously, almost like
yes, man. Oh gosh, if anything, yes, this is not serious. This character is very playful. If anything, I try to like poke fun at what we take to be very serious and important. Yeah.
Because it's this thing with development again that I'm stuck on. Is it's like that's what I'm trying to not see things as like, okay, you have like, this is how my mind works. Like you have like breath meditation and then like non-duality, and it's like
no. So non-duality means not to. So everything, including meditation, including assholes, including Mother Teresa, including nuns, buffets, breath work, sex, rock and roll, everything is not to. Everything. But in the dream of seeking, it is, if I do more meditations, I will go up the ranks of what Anna's talking about of non-duality. No way.
That happens. That comes up.
Yeah, no hierarchy in this message, but obviously hierarchy appears. But the fallacy is I can meditate and get to where Anna's at. It's not a chance because I'm not anywhere.
Nice one. Good news there. But that like development hierarchy, it engenders a kind of like seriousness or like a planning. And what I'm kind of feeling now.
Well, that can appear, Brian. I don't want to say that you're going to become like a vegetable that sits on the couch. What I'm saying is already no one is doing anything. So if someone is training to, do 10 squats with like 50-pound weights, that training will appear. No one's doing it though. Already. But when we live in these like cliques and ideas of spirituality, we think, doing breath work is better than doing squats. Hell no.
Yeah,
they're equal. They're equal, but they're just the absolute squatting or the absolute doing breath work. But honestly, what's really good breath work? Cardio. Oh yeah. That's some killer breath work, man. Yeah. They're all beautiful. It's a character trait, if one wants to do one the other. They just won't bring you to what we're speaking about because there is only what we're speaking about. Yeah,
that can be recognized in the gamut of activities that we can do, which are all, we might have preferences for one or the other, but it's all appearing.
Right. Oh, totally, Brian. No one, you like hearing this, it can be intuitively recognized, or sitting with your eyes closed and feeling the breeze, it can be intuitively recognized. You know what I mean? There's no specialness in this for sure, but yeah.
Good one. Okay, I have a question for you, Anna. So listening to you talk today, and then also listening to some other of your other talks, is this awakening dream thing comes up a lot. I was wondering if you could talk about that a little bit. I have extremely vivid dreams, like sleeping dreams. I love dreams. I was really excited to hear that all of life is a dream. I'm like, great, I've been doing it wrong. But like, I was wondering if you could talk about like the experience of dreaming, like when we're sleeping, like if you have vivid dreams, or what you think about that experience.
Well, what would be the importance of that conversation? Will that bring you closer to that which already is?
I like dreams because they just seem like real creative to me. Like a lot of the.
But this right here this here is no more real than what you're calling your dream at night. So what's the importance in your dream experience at night?
I don't think there is too.
There has to be, because we're bringing it up though.
Oh. I don't know. What do you think?
The mind likes to talk about those things, but there's no importance in dream at night. It won't bring you any closer to that which already is. What I'm really saying is God is appearing as everything. So speaking about dream interpretation is just, it's no more important than talking about Alice in Wonderland. It doesn't have any meaning unless you say it does, then it has meaning. And then it's really important and special. And I'm not clamping or cramping on your style. I'm just, this has no other way than to be uncompromising, Brian. Yeah. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Yeah.
That's okay. Do you think you could talk about why do you think that metaphor is so powerful and used so often? Like waking up.
Because it appears.
Mm.
Like at night when you go to sleep, this doesn't really dream, but when you go to sleep at night, it appears, and when you wake up, it's seen it wasn't real.
Mm.
That's this.
Yeah.
Yeah, already.
Okay.
So it's that's what I mean by real and unreal.
Mm.
It seems to be, I can move and evolve and do all kinds of things within dream, but then when I wake up, it wasn't.
Mm.
Paradox.
Yeah.
But that's this here arising.
Yeah. And I wonder if this is one of the topics that is really critical for me to grok with the non-dual sharing, is because like dreams seem quite qualitatively different when I wake up from sleep at night. That's why I think I'm so fascinated by them, because they seem qualitatively different.
But
Like
it was seen to not be real though, right?
Right. And while there is like a kind of resonance with experiencing these teachings, there's not this qualitative shift that I'm experiencing that is kind of analogous to waking up, if you know what I mean. And so I guess that's what I'm kind of waiting for. I think, a lot of
it's a paradox. No one does wake up because there's nobody asleep.
Right.
The dream is I'm asleep and I'm going to work really hard to wake up. And then this message is saying there's nobody asleep. That's why you can't wake up. No one's asleep.
Yeah. And yet there's this weird, you talked about earlier, like this maybe we could say that your experience or the non-experience at 7 years old that was like this waking up, right? Would you say that's fair?
I wouldn't say waking up. I dissolved. So what was left was seeing what always was. It was Anna that wanted to wake up. You see what I'm saying? The person who was born and will die wanted to wake up. But when it's seen you were never born, who's going to wake up? It's really doesn't mess on. It really doesn't make sense. Because what we call our identity is things that have happened to us in the past. When you don't have a past, who are you? What are you? Oh shit. Exactly. The person has to hide in its past story because that's its identity. That's its costume. Or it future projects because it can't be right here intimately making eye contact with what is. It's very uncomfortable for the sense of separation.
I like that. That's cool. Like the time thing.
Yeah.
Wow. I had this amazing, thank you for reminding me of this with the intimacy.
Yeah.
That's a big one. I had
intimacy. Yeah.
I did a improv class. And
cool. Those are fun.
Yeah. This teacher shared something that really rocked my world about being with someone, like on the stage there. It's very scary. Like a lot of fear comes up about like not looking stupid or whatever. And the teacher invited us to try and not think of anything until the person was done speaking. And that is like very, very difficult. I mean, just to be with the person while they're like, even just to be with you now in this experience, it's very like there's a pressure to like say something next instead of just immerse.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah, that's what falls away, Brian. That's what seems to fall away. And then this is the most important space. This is the intimacy. There's no place you'd rather be, so to speak. You may need to go pee or something that may arise totally, but there's no thoughts, or there's not an important question that comes up that's more important than what already is, because it's seen. I'm speaking to myself. I'm speaking to the absolute. There is only the absolute. So I get you though. I get you. That's a great explanation of what it seems like when there's a person.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that. Oh my God, wholeness appearing as, oh my God, let's get to the next question. It's super epic. Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Uncomfortable though. Yeah.
It does feel uncomfortable. Like I kind of like just sitting here and letting you talk. It's kind of nice, and going back and forth is kind of a fun dance.
Yeah.
That metaphor seems to be used a lot as well, like dancing. I like
totally.
That.
Yeah, because we don't really, unless you're choreographed, let's just say you just turn on a beat and you dance. It's just movement. You don't know what's coming next. You know what I mean? It's just the body's just moving with the energy. And that's exactly what's happening here. And there doesn't have to be questions. The silence is very full as well. You see, but yeah, there's nothing wrong with questions too. It's beautiful. Yeah.
Oh, that's one I might experiment with, Anna, is like the dead air. I like that.
Hmm.
That's radical to me because, everyone tells you like every dead air, and there's even a quantitative metric to it now. Like you'll get like X amount of people will drop off, which I think is very fascinating. That like even in the
Oh,
listening, like the silence can
oh.
seem unbearable.
Oh, but
That's
yeah,
that's a weird
for the
one.
one who needs to get something, of course. But of course, I'm not speaking to the one who has their hand out either. I speak to
Uh,
beingness or isness, which
uh,
obviously appears as all characters here. But you're right. The belief systems will go, nah, next. What's next? Give me something. Give me gobble, 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 gobble. You know
uh,
what I mean? Because it's hungry for more. But
mhm.
there will be resonance. It may be very few because this message isn't popular, I'll be honest, because I'm not giving you anything. I'm only confirming what you are, so to speak. But no, there can be a resonance. But in silence is actually a natural byproduct because questions don't get answered. They tend to start to get very dissolved and quiet and small because you start to see what you are, not who you are.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it seems, though maybe perhaps not popular, and there is that.
Mm.
It's the part of me like wants to resist the feedback of others being uncomfortable or myself being uncomfortable. I do think there's
Mhm.
a compassion in truth. There's a compassion, like you use the word uncompromising, which I really appreciate.
Yeah.
um that does, I don't know, it does seem that there's a compassion. I
Yeah.
understand there's no one being compassionate, but
Yeah.
like it does, I do feel that hunger, that fill the
Yeah.
void.
Yeah.
It's nice to say like, well, you don't, it's okay, there's nothing really to fill. um
Right. And that's the true compassion, is going to the root of impersonal suffering, which is I'm not there yet, Anna. I'm not perfect and I need a lot of things to do. And all I can
mhm.
say is throw that shit down the toilet. You
Mm.
know, that kind of thing. That's the true compassion, is going to the idea that I'm choosing, I did this wrong. I fucked up. I did all of this and I got to clean it. And I'm just saying, hey, there's no one.
Mm.
There's no one we can point the finger to, so to
And
speak.
you know what,
Mhm.
I'm going to challenge myself not to take a lesson, but I am going to take a lesson. That's going to be the paradox. But it's like, I don't think the first thought I had was to try not to seek, like go on seeking abstinence. But
Oh gosh, that's just seeking in another form. I'm going to
I
seek, not
know,
to
right?
seek, to
Yeah.
seek, to seek, to seek.
That's,
Yeah.
it's like a loop. It's like one of those like loop thingies.
Yeah.
But then I was like, just seek without like not wanting to seek or something like that, or like, there's like just kind of try to be a bit more natural with it. um
Mm, I
and
get you. But the
just go
mind
with it.
can't, what we would say, the seeker can't be natural because it's
Hmm.
trying so hard to be a good person or trying to do the right thing by a rule book someone handed to them. Right.
Yeah.
Naturalness happens when there's no longer an idea of who you think you are. Then there's just the natural spontaneity of the character, which could be very taboo to your culture.
Hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
depending on what is being
What the character
expressed.
is, right? If a character's been living, let's say, in dogma, in tight, like a corset like this, and then finally the butterfly wings seem to come out and there's no longer guilt, shame, and insecurity, it may be like, whoa, oh my God, what is up with this character? Like, this is too much for our culture or whatever, but it is just naturalness.
Hmm.
It's just, it's going to look mad to what is normal for society, of course.
Hmm. And if and history, like even though past is an illusion, but these stories about the history, like, Brian is a
Yeah, no, totally.
patient
Yeah.
person, Brian is a blah 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 person. It's like, actually, like, no, right now I'm wanting to, I don't know, do whatever I want to do that wants to be expressed.
Well,
But
yeah,
which I
it's natural. Yeah, I get you. Some might think like you should be locked up in a madhouse talking about this kind of stuff because no person. What are you talking about? Yeah, it doesn't make sense unless you're speaking to another character that isn't there. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Yeah. Mm.
Yeah, good stuff there. Hmm. Yeah, this seeking thing. Wow, it's just
Mm.
it's quite pervasive in my life.
Yeah, that's we can describe that. We can describe the dream of seeking. We can describe duality. We can't describe what we are. What's left after seeking is gone is what we are. And I just like to say it's an innocence.
Hmm. I,
You know,
I sorry, Anna.
no, you go ahead.
I do appreciate that about listening to you. You do bravely, in my opinion, bravely go towards a positive. I know it's hard. It's almost impossible. It's probably easier to talk in the negative. But I appreciate, and I think through the metaphor, which is a fun one, and through the intuition, and then and maybe like a kind of, I don't know, I'll use a fancy term, phenomenological, or like a sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think okay, here's a question. And I have been trying to stay away from whys, because, why, maybe, who knows, but why do you think metaphor or those kind of things are more, or seem more clear than like logic, let's say? Why do you think that is?
It hits that creative side of our brain. I feel, if we're speaking of the brain is also an appearance, but it hits that side of us that is still very childlike and innocent. It's speaking to beingness or isness. Now, when we go into like teachings and rigorous and time bound and linear speaking, it's going to that part of us that wants a leader, that part of us that wants the rule book and the map. You see what I'm saying? Not that childlike wonder that knows, oh my God, like it doesn't know. That's why kids are in that awe. They're not hammered down of what everything is yet. They're still in like imagination space, kind of, they call it the imagination space, like Twilighty, where it's like nothing is concrete, solid, and real yet for them through belief systems of experience. So when I use metaphors or I, try to paint a picture, it's just, it bypasses logic, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. It seems to. Yeah, that makes sense to me. That's a good point. I heard somewhere, or read somewhere that shame doesn't come up until like 4 or something. I don't know exactly how.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I'm not sure, but I mean, shame is definitely connected to the sense of ownership and free will and choice. Now, when you're a little kid, you don't have those ideas of free will and choice. Those are all taught to you. Responsibility, all of that's taught to you. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like not being angry or not crying.
I mean, we're taught like those things are molded, like you shouldn't cry or you should cry. I mean, think about it. There's across all cultures, there's different relationships with emotions. What we're speaking about here is the end of all relationships, which is really freaky because when there's a person and a mind or a belief is trying to relate and tinker with the sensations and the emotions, and I need to feel it out. And I used to live in an area like that, so to speak, where it was like, let's feel every emotion. Let's talk to our inner child. And it was constant work, constant micromanagement. And it kind of felt like I had an extra kid to take care of. You know what I'm saying? And so this is falling into an effortlessness. Effort still appears, emotions still appear, but not those ideas, those emotions that come from the idea of doership. So think about it. Some emotions can seem really inflamed because we think we're doing the wrong thing or we're not there yet. Like they get magnified. And once that idea of I'm not there yet, I'm not perfect, I'm not wholeness, I'm not God, I'm not totality is gone, there's just, you naturally are yourself. Your face is your face, your hair is your hair, how you sit is how you sit, whether it's like this or like this, like it's all okay, it's all perfect. And there's no longer a self-consciousness going, oh, sit erect. Don't slouch. You shouldn't sit like that. Be more perky, be more happy. Because if you were enlightened, you would be more happy and perky and positive. All of those go away. And it's just the character can just be like a hot mess or a delighted whatever. You get what I'm saying? Just like in nature.
Yeah.
Everything is fully itself without any apologies.
Yeah, there's like a kind of authenticity. I mean, that's
exactly, brother. Exactly. We're speaking of authenticity. And that does not mean that doesn't mean, oh my God, I'm a sociopath, or now I'm a narcissistic or something like that. If the character was already narcissistic, if the character was already a sociopath, if you will, those traits may still kind of arise. Ownership and guilt goes though. Because again, we're speaking of all characters, which go from the spectrum of the good and the bad, according to what we're labeling, right?
The
highest high, the lowest low. Yeah.
I like that. I have this is what I think what's arising for me that I want to kind of play with is I have this belief that, or I have this want or desire, or I tend to conflate authenticity and approval. And so this character really is like wants Anna to approve of me, wants my partner to approve of me. And that's like the relationship thing. And that's going to be very difficult with authenticity. It's just
yeah,
really,
that's called relationship and codependency. And I get that. This used to live there too. And it's awful. It's fucking awful. And that's the relating I'm talking about. This doesn't see you as a separate self. This doesn't see you as a personal Brian. I only see the absolute prancing and dancing as Brian. Okay. So there's love here for you, so to speak, because not like the romantic love, but there's a mutual love and respect because I know what you are, not who you are. Now, if we're going to go into personal traits, of course, there may be things I agree or disagree or resonate or prefer with the character. You get what I'm saying? But absolutely so. Yeah, I know what you are. So that none of that matters. I don't need to approve of you or reject you. But there can be preferences in characters, brother, for sure. But there's definitely a mutual respect of what you are and what this is.
Yeah, and I love that. I really appreciate that that perspective, or what you're sharing there. There's just like, I like the word codependency. I've heard that before. I haven't really looked into it, but it makes sense to me. It's like, it's letting go of this idea of like needing for all the preference, like limiting the authenticity. So because of this like kind of magical belief that if you tweak things rightly, like every character, will have a preference for you. That is, I guess that's a form of seeking. It is a form of seeking, and yeah, it is pretty terrible. Like I definitely want to stop doing that.
Well, it'll stop when it stops. That's what arose here too. It's because it goes hand in hand with seeking, and it goes hand in hand with I'm the chooser and the doer, right? Or it goes hand in hand with the idea of imperfection and lack. But when it's seen that this is perfection, like I said, your voice is your voice, and how you're moving is how you're moving. How you smell is how you smell. And people are going to hate you or they're going to love you, man. But it has nothing to do with you.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? It has. There's haters that hate this. There's lovers that love this. But it is what it is. It's all the dance of the absolute. It's all Leela or a light show. Yeah, those don't go away. Cranky characters, they still appear. You should see my emails sometimes.
I'll have to make a note.
It's okay. It's okay. Yeah. It's but that's life. You get what I'm saying? There's always going to be friction. There's always going to be the waves crashing into to create the landscape of the, what's that shit called?
the coast.
Thank you. Thank you. I live in the middle of the United States. I'm not by a coast, clearly. So yeah, like there's always going to be that friction, that's going to seem to shape and mold and bend and all of that. Yeah, that's part of life. There's roses and roses have thorns.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? That there's always going to be the yin and the yang, the light and the dark, the pain and the pleasure, but they're not separate. They're one.
Yeah. The absolute arising as light or darkness.
Right. Yeah.
I like this non-free will thing. There's a lot less to do there, so I don't have to control.
Oh, doesn't it? Well, there can be, just in hearing it, there can be a relaxation within your body for sure.
Yeah, I feel,
but not for every character. Not for every character.
I think I'm just tired of trying to control things. It's just like
it is exhausting.
Yeah, and they have that. It's like it's like kind of a recovery truism. Let go of the things you can't control, and then I'm happy to learn like you can't control everything, so let go of everything.
Exactly, Brian. And I can share with you in the story of Anna, because we've touched on addiction. This had an eating disorder, which you could see that would be an addiction in a way. It was still a form of seeking. Yeah. And those go away, or drastically or in bits and pieces, seemingly as a process, what looks like a process. When this is seen and heard by no one. There doesn't need to be a healing process. It's quite interesting and mysterious. I can't explain it. I can just share what seemed to arise when this was seen and heard by no one. Those all of that stuff started to slide away. There's still habits here though, for sure, that some would label, oh my God, that is like, you know what I mean? Okay. Whatever. So it's like, it's just so ordinary.
Yeah, that's something I'm really taking. That's really sitting with me is like, okay, what are the things? a lack of, I don't want to say a lack of seriousness, but I'll say a
Oh,
playfulness.
seriousness can appear for sure. Like, I mean, you know, if all of a sudden you look outside and there's a hawk about to swoop up your chicken, you might run outside and it looks very serious in that moment. Yeah. So we're not saying that like seriousness doesn't appear. We're saying no one is being serious.
Got it.
There isn't
Oh,
someone
that's cool.
choosing that. It's just, it's a response.
Mm,
It's a response. Now, most characters, when they're living in the illusion of time and imagination, their seriousness comes from imagination. This could happen in the future, or I'm replaying the past, and it's
yeah,
very serious.
oh, I like
It's not from an immediacy of what is. Seriousness still appears, but from an immediacy of what's appearing here, not here.
Yeah. So it's like the natural. Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah, just like
Natural.
animals. Oh my God, cheetah's coming for me. I'm a jackrabbit. Run,
Get
fucking
out of
run,
here.
run. Yeah,
That's
dude.
serious.
Or oh my God, over. I'm not a jackrabbit anymore. Now I'm just ether. You know? Yeah.
I think I have been living in a myth. I've been living in a myth about this seriousness thing, and it relates to self-consciousness. But it's almost that like if I like read enough or like that I can somehow like know that things are, instead of just kind of trusting more of that, dare I say, like intuitive or biological.
No, you said it right.
Shit is serious right now. Like get the order, or things are funny right now. Like let's fucking laugh. You know?
That's life.
Yeah.
That's life. But we're like trying to read a book about life. Like, okay, how do I sit? How do I breathe? How do I walk? How do I be a male human or a female human? Yeah. All of that just collapses. And then there's the natural character.
That's beautiful. Anna, you know what I'm just noticing?
Wait,
we
at time? Oh, okay.
Well, I have to remind you, there's no time. I'm just kidding. I know you know that. But I did make this agreement, and I'm still stuck on this morality thing that I want to respect the time we set. So first of all, I want to say thank you so much for spending some time with me. You've been very gracious with your time, and I appreciate it. I wanted to ask you one more thing, if it's okay.
Yeah, go for it.
I find this very, very stimulating, very fun and enjoyable. And I'm sure some folks in the audience did as well. And I wanted to ask if you would share with us, like if we wanted to check out more of your work, maybe like online or something like that, like where could we go and learn more about what you're sharing right now?
All right. So I'm on YouTube. I'm also on Patreon, and you can find my blog and bookings at wonderfullynothing.com. So I will have Brian just put the links underneath this YouTube video because I can't remember all of them off the top of my head. So there we go. There's 3 links you guys can find me at. So
perfect. Yeah. I'll make sure to add them. And yeah, Anna, thanks so much for interesting. And I hope you have a really awesome rest of your day.
Yeah. Thank you, Brian. Appreciate it. You take care.
Absolutely.